From outer space to beaver base, we've got range this week. Kat reviews the Super Mario Galaxy movie, Leah survives Timberborn, and we hit the highs and huss of the BAFTA Game Awards. Then it's Elden Ring Movie casting, and patch notes are lie.
Get ready for the Girls on Games podcast, your weekly dose of news, reviews, and everything video games. Always served with a good helping of hype and just a pinch of salt. And now, your host, Leah.
Hello and welcome to another Girls on Games podcast. My name is Leah. I'm the host of this show. This is episode number 537. And joining me around this digital table includes Catherine. Hey, Kat.
Hello.
Joelle is out under the weather today, but yeah, hoping she's feeling better. We'll have her back next week. Let's get through a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the crew check-in. I'd like to remind you that if you enjoy this show, you can subscribe. We're available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Podbean. If you'd like to support us, maybe by giving us a tip, buying a coffee, you can do that by going to our Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/girlsongames. Catherine, what have you been up to this week?
I went to see the Mario Galaxy movie.
Hey, how was that?
It's exactly like the first one. It's really fun, really great. A lot of Easter eggs. A bit of a fever dream of a story, if I'll be honest.
Okay.
It just starts and then it just keeps bouncing all over the place. And then at the end, you're like, yay, princess are safe. Let's have a party. And then there's credit rolls. And I'm just like, what the really, I don't know, TikTok generation, like it's just a lot of stuff happening, like a fever dream, just always constantly changing context. But it was really good. Like if you like the first one, there's no reason why you wouldn't like this one. And they added more Easter eggs from Nintendo franchises. So there's a whole story arc with Star Fox. And
right, that's the one that they like teased, and everybody was like, why wouldn't you just leave that as like almost like an Easter egg when people got to see it? But it was in like some of the poster art and things like that came out really close to launch.
Yeah, well, after seeing the movie, me and my friend were like 95% sure it's because next movie by Nintendo is going to be a Star Fox movie.
I mean,
100%.
yeah, I could see that. And I think maybe the next Super Mario movie could be like Smash related. So like maybe there's like multiple things, multiple layers going on here. Because when you think about it, like Star Fox is not really of the moment right now.
No, but it is one of those like darling franchises that a lot of people hold near and dear. And it's because people that grew up with these franchises like you and me are like have kids, right? Like,
well, not us.
No, not us. But I know like my nephew and my niece, the third child in the group of four, like they're obsessed with the Mario movie. They love it and they want to go see Mario Galaxy. And it's like my brother's in that age, right? He grew up with the NES and the SNES, just like you and I. So I think it's looking into that. There were other Easter eggs that I won't say because I don't know if they were in the trailer, but there were a bunch of stuff where we were like, oh yeah, like this is actually more like Super Smash, or this is from an external franchise. I think in the trailer there was the Pikmin.
Yeah, I think we saw some Pikmin, we saw Birdo, we saw a few things, like just glances of things.
Yeah,
right?
no, there's a whole like sequence with Princess Peach and Toad. The sequence with Birdo. Like, we just had a look around and like what was happening and who was in the scene, and we're like, holy shit, this entire sequence is just going to be Mario Brothers 2. And it was great, to the music, to everything, and to the enemies they were fighting. It was amazing.
Wicked. How was Donald Glover as Yoshi?
He was Yoshi?
Yes! You didn't know that?
I saw his name in the credits, but they didn't say as Yoshi. I was just like, I didn't notice his voice. I guess he was great. I didn't notice it was.
Well, I mean, he probably disguised it a fair amount. And like, I wouldn't recognize just his voice. Do you know what I mean? I don't know him that well to be able to pick out his voice amongst others. It's not like it's like Morgan Freeman or like even like Jack Black. I know Jack Black as soon as he talks. Do you know what I mean?
I think I would have recognized him if you listen to a lot of like Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
Or if you watch a lot of Community. Yeah, you can kind of pick up like, it's just like he got that Yoshi voice down because I was like, I don't know who the voice actor for Yoshi is, but it's going great. I didn't think they actually hired a celebrity to just go Yoshi for like half the movie.
They're every single person in that is a celebrity.
Yeah.
in that movie.
Like we went in like blind knowing it's always an all celebrity cast, but yeah, it was when we saw that Brie Larson was
Rosalina.
Yeah, we were like, really? Like we didn't recognize her one bit. Like everybody else, yeah. The movie starts and she was like, my friend goes, is it still Chris Pratt and Charlie Day? And the first words out of Mario's mouth, she was like, yeah, it's still Chris Pratt.
Did you guys get because I saw some kids the first night that the movie came out, and Mike and I poking around the mall, and some folks were carrying around the Yoshi egg is like the popcorn bucket. Was that available to you?
No, we also went to VIP. So they have
you went to the adult one.
Yeah, it was great. We went on Saturday night at 5:30. There was like 8 of us in the room. It was amazing.
Did you drink and eat?
Yeah, we didn't order alcohol.
No.
Nah, but I did. I was like, fuck it. I'm having popcorn for dinner. So I ordered like the big bucket, the biggest, because it's like a medium is $9.
Yeah.
And the bigger one is like $9.50.
Popcorn. Holy smokes.
I know, it's expensive as shit. And I used to work in the movie theater. I know it costs nothing to make. But yeah, I grabbed that and like a coconut water because I was feeling fancy. I also went for burgers for lunch, so that's why I was like still heavy from the lunch. I also had a sugary drink with that. I was like, I don't want another sugary drink, but I want popcorn, and then I'm not paying for. I'm going to pay $6. I'm not going to get just water.
True.
So I got yeah.
So you would go again? Recommended? What do you think?
I recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you need to see it in theaters.
Okay.
Honestly, it's the kind of thing that is highly watchable at home. And I think it's worth seeing more than once because like when, the action was happening and the type of animations and like Illumination is a great studio. Like I think I would rewatch just the whole like Mario 2 sequence because there was so much happening. I'm sure I'm missing like jokes in a corner or stuff like that. Because here's the thing that I learned from my nieces and nephew. When you have young children, they will rewatch shit over and over and over and over again. And I think they go ham in these movies in terms of like the quality of animation and the details and even stuff happening in the background just for parents to have something else to watch so that every time they watch it, they notice something new or something better and whatnot. So yeah. Yeah, as an adult, I highly recommend to watch it. Or theater, if you're looking for a reason to leave the house. Absolutely. If you're waiting for it to hit streaming, I recommend watching it as soon as it's available. It was as fun as the first one.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything nearly that fun, as in going to the movies. I did have fun watching WrestleMania, though. I had that on both nights, Saturday and Sunday night. This Street Fighter trailer is out, which is really fun, and that has a bunch of the wrestlers in it, so that's pretty cool.
I haven't seen it yet.
I think there might be a new Mortal Kombat trailer. I heard some talk about that, but I don't know if it's out yet. Yeah, did you see it?
I saw that people were talking about it, but I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this later. I'm busy right now.
And here we are. Yeah. But I know that's right around the corner, too. That last Mortal Kombat movie was actually pretty good, so I'm looking forward to another one. I just want some stupid turn your brain off entertainment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Popcorn
Hence why I watch WrestleMania on a Saturday to Sunday night for 4 hours. That was literally like, here's the thing. We are used to having our video game events or the Game Awards where it's just like full of trailers.
Mhm.
That's what WrestleMania was this time. I don't know if
Really?
it's because it's on Netflix or because it's on ESPN or whatever the heck's going on. But like, I mean, it's 4 hours long, the event, but I don't think we saw that much time in wrestling at all. Like maybe an hour, and like between like the hours and walk-ups and like the showmanship spiel stuff, giving the promos and things like that they do, and other like talking moments, and then the trailers. There was a lot of trailers in that. So, but yeah, outside of that, I love the spectacle of it. It's so much fun, and it's so like over the top. It's
Of
just like a
course.
soap opera, but that's humorous. I don't follow it like and watch it religiously like on Mondays and Thursday nights when SmackDown and Raw are on, but I do follow a bunch of YouTubers who are, and I try to catch it when I can, but it's silly entertainment.
It's good fun.
Yeah, it's totally good fun. Let's get into the Fantasy Critic and see how things are going this week. In the podcast league, we had 2 games release. On Thursday, April 16th, Mouse PI for Hire came out. That's a game that I really want to play, and I probably will end up picking it up. It was on Joelle's list, Critic of 81 points 11. And then the next day, on the 17th, Pragmata came out, and that was on your list, Kat, with a critic of 87.17.
Nice.
Nice. That's some good points there, girl.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to other things, bids, Kat, you won a game, Halo Campaign Evolved. You won it with $1.
I am capitalizing on the fact that we forget about the podcast league and don't check it.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Sounds about right. You and Joelle actually have a lot of your lineups filled out. Joelle has 2 holes and a counter pick, and you have 4 holes and a counter pick. I have a lot left to fill out.
You're gonna go on a shopping spree, I think, come summer announcements.
Yeah, I got big money to spend, including I got $100 to spend. Joelle's got 83, and you've got $80. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, based on the standings right now, I might only have a few games, but I'm in first. Joelle is in second, and you are in third. Over on the Community League, similar situation, few game releases, but more because it's a bigger league. On Tuesday, the 14th, Replaced came out. That was on Jessica Starr's list. Critic of 78 points of 8. Oh, and Dos Divas came out, but I didn't catch the one on that. I didn't catch the numbers. So let me go see Dos Divas. Dos Divas, critic of 74 points of 4. And then Thursday, Mouse PI for Hire. That was on Margot's list. Critic of 81 points 11. Tomodachi Life Living the Dream was on your list, Kat. Critic 79 points of 9.
Nice.
And then Friday, 17th of April, we had Pragmata release. That was on Ross's list. Critic of 87 points of 17. And then Airborne Empire was on NJK's list. Unfortunately, needs an open critic link. So when it comes to bids and drops, nothing happened last week. So the standings is in order: Phoenix, Joelle, Jessica, Kat, Pat, Margot, Offshore Meteor, Ross, Darth Stridius, Ari Richter, myself, NJK, Stainsby Kingsby, and Fred. And that's where we are right now. We're probably only like a month and a bit away from, maybe a month and a half away from like more big events. Did they announce when Summer Game Fest is yet? I know they talked about Xbox and that Fan Fest thing, but have they announced anything about Summer Game Fest?
I don't think so.
I'm looking it up now.
I saw a few trickling announcements, but no official stuff from Jeff.
Jeff, what's going on? You're waiting. Oh no, it's going to return Friday, June 5th, 2026.
Oh, okay. That's less chronically online, apparently.
Well, I think they probably announced it and locked it down last year, but because usually sometimes they do that in a lot of these events at the end. They're like, join us same time next year, that kind of thing. But I'm hoping there's going to be lots of games for me to pick from there. For the team to pick from. Cool. Kat, what are you playing?
I'm back on Spider-Man Miles Morales, so having a lot of fun with that. I tend to, again, ignore the main quest because they gave me an app where people ask for help. I saved some carrier pigeons the other day. Yeah. So, but I did play a few quests of the main quest, and it unlocked more things to do, so I could unlock more suits and look even cooler. Yeah, just your classic Spider-Man stuff. And although I wish I would have kind of like kept with it a bit better, because now it's like I'm playing this. It's like winter and it's very Christmassy, and I'm just looking, and it was like 20 degrees on
Yeah.
Saturday while I was playing this. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like in spring. But then again, joke's on me, because today it was -1.
It was cold today for us
Yeah.
too. It was chilly.
Oh, the spring is springing. Like we're springing up and down
And down and up and
down.
oh yeah, she's rebounding. My sinuses are telling me all about it. The weather doesn't know. Yesterday, Sunday, I think we had 4 seasons in one day. Literally went outside in a light jacket in the sunshine, playing frisbee with the dog, went inside. Mike opened the door and said, "It's snowing." I said, "You lie." And then nope, it was snowing. Then it started to rain. Walked down to my nail appointment, went inside, started to snow harder. And then I said, "April, who knows?" And then it was sunny again.
It's like you keep changing biomes in a video game without your knowledge nor your consent.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
It's been very crazy weather-wise lately. So because it was so nice and sunny, like on Friday, Saturday, I spent the day outside. And then Sundays when it started to get rainy again, and then I just sat down with Miles Morales, and he was like in winter with like Christmas, and I was like, oh, I just got out of that, but okay. But yeah, I'm trying. I don't know how far along I am, honestly. I should check.
Okay.
I know like PlayStation gives you the percentage and everything when you look at it, and I forgot to look at the number and register it in my little brain, but I'll probably be plucking at it for the next 2 or 3 weeks, something like that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm still playing Timberborn. Getting to points now that I did not play during the early access. So one of the things that I opened up included zip lines, which is really fun because, you need your beavers to move around fast, to move all the things, to build all the stuff, to try and save yourself from the droughts and the bad tide. And that was pretty cool to install, along with dynamite so part of the game mechanics, outside of just like building dams in order to retain water when there are droughts, they added this new mechanic called bad tide, which is essentially like poisoned water, and they can hit. And then if you're not careful, that could also kill off your beavers because it could kill all their crops. But then also if your beavers like get contaminated, they can die too because they're infected or whatever, or poisoned from the bad water. I hadn't really played with that mechanic yet at all. And part of because of course, you know me, I get into a video game, I start watching all the YouTube videos and the people who are min-maxing it and like all the mechanics and all that kind of stuff to like level up because I'm a nerd. And one of the things that one of the YouTubers was talking about was like how to divert the bad water so that it doesn't contaminate your good water and your land with all your crops that are propagated. So the first bit of the game essentially just getting through droughts, and then when you get your first bad water, you're like, oh god, that just undid like 50% of my work. So now I've managed to get to the point where I can construct dynamite, and with that means you can blow up pieces of the earth, and I'm doing that in order to divert the bad water essentially off the map when that happens. So I was playing just before podcast recording, and I left where I had a warning that a bad tide was coming just as I started exploding things to make my channel to get my bad water out. I don't know if I'm going to make it in time to get that out, so I might have one really, really rough patch for a little while, and I might lose a few beavers. I've got 80 right now in my colony, and that might dwindle if my beavers don't move fast enough. But I installed the zip lines so that they could get from where they're making the dynamite over to where I need it exploded.
That is one hell of a sentence to say out loud.
I know. Gotta save me, beavers. It's weird. Video games. But yeah, it's a great game. I also haven't tried. There's another faction that's available to you. It's called the Iron Teeth. They have a few mechanics that are different. One of the big things that's different is breeding. In the current one that I'm playing right now, the Folktales, it's kind of like the easier of the two. But I kind of wanted to get through a full thing of that before trying out the Iron Tails, like learn all the mechanics and see kind of what is different. The Iron Tails with the berries, that just adds a little bit of more complexity to breeding. So you have to have the machines and berries in order to breed. While with the folktales, it's essentially just have enough beds open and make sure everybody is sleeping and comfortable and whatever, and they will propagate. But that's not the case with Iron Tails. Plus, instead of zip lines, their mechanic is that they have like these tubes with like water in them that they shoot them around, kind of like water slides. So almost like you're making your own little mini metro system for them, which looks pretty interesting. So I'm curious to try that one out when the time comes. I have a feeling it's harder because of the breeding mechanic, but then also as well because of some other stuff too, of what they're relying of to their crops and stuff that are slightly different. So we shall see. I'm loving this game. If you like these types of sim management, sims, survival games, like give it a go. It's worth it. It's very, very beautiful, very deep in its levels of mechanics, and then how you could go about building your dams and diverting water and making your beavers happy. It's cute.
What other games has beavers on zip lines? Let's be honest.
I mean, for that alone, it's worth a try, right?
Exactly.
All right, let's get to Game On this week. I am your game master, and yeah, since this is a podcast, let's play a video game or a podcast game about video games. Today, Catherine has the lovely chance to try and decide whether the patch note is truth or a lie. I'm going to read a series of patch notes. Kat, you get to tell me whether or not you think it was really in the game and had to be fixed, or if I just, made it up. These are wild and wacky. I have 10 patch note or lie. I have one at a time. All right, here we go. The first one. Villagers will no longer eat babies.
That feels like a truth. That feels like a...
Yeah, it's from RimWorld. Yeah, and that was a patch note. Had to do with some of the mechanics in the game. Pretty funny, hey?
I feel like I've heard that one before. I was like...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Game dev is wild.
Next one. Guardians can no longer die from excessive enthusiasm.
Is that from a Destiny patch note? I'll say that's a lie.
That is a lie. All right. Next one. Roach no longer appears on top of random buildings.
Oh, that is from The Witcher 3. That is a true. I was happy when that patch came through.
Yeah, he would just randomly spawn in the weirdest places.
They made it into a card, for their card game.
In Gwent?
Yeah, in Gwent, the Roach card is literally like Roach on top of a building, and you see Geralt from the back with like his hands on his hips, just like, what the fuck?
That's funny. Round 4. Players can no longer marry their horse.
I'm gonna say that's true.
It's fake.
Oh,
thank God. I would say people would want to put that back in. People would be mad if you went through and you were available. It was available to you to marry your horse, and then they took that out. People get mad.
You're right. I did not know gamers enough. That's on me.
Number 5. Fixed issue where dead Sims will continue texting people.
That feels like a truth.
It is. So apparently there was this glitch in The Sims at one point that like you would get updates and it would continue to text, and the Sim was dead, but it would continue to text people alerts and things like that in the game. Yeah. Usually people can't text from beyond the grave.
Nope.
Number 6. Dragons now wait their turn before attacking.
I'm going to say that's a truth.
No, it's fake.
That felt like something from a turn-based RPG.
Number 7. NPCs will now use ladders more intelligently.
That's a lie.
It's truth, and it's from Baldur's Gate 3.
Aw, fuck.
Apparently, the NPCs would do weird, wacky shit, not going up the ladders properly in the game.
And get stuck there?
Did you ever encounter that when you were playing?
Not that I remember.
No. Okay.
No, unless they meant like NPC, like your party members, because sometimes I'd go up a ladder and then everybody was like, guess we're going up this fucking ladder. I'm like, I'm just looting something.
Yeah, probably. And maybe they wouldn't go up now because they wouldn't all follow you like a trail of lemmings
Oh, probably.
and get
I
stuck.
started like leaving my party behind, being like, stay there. Mommy's going to go loot that.
Smart. Number 8, horse physics have been reduced by 14%.
That has to be a truth.
It's a lie! Number 9, fixed issue where players could become permanently tiny.
That has to be true.
It is. It's from Fall Guys. Apparently, they would get shrunk as part of game mechanics, and they get stuck there. It's almost like It Takes Two or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, except it's a multiplayer game, so then you're stuck for like the entire match like that.
Yeah, which could either be a bonus because you'd be hard to catch or something, or a weakness because you couldn't jump or easily get knocked off something. I don't know. Depends on how you could spin that one. I think I played Fall Guys like once or twice.
I've never played. I just saw the gameplay and I was like, too chaotic for me, but y'all have fun.
Are people still, like, is that still a thing? Are people still playing it?
It's still live, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I knew it was still live, but, like, I just feel like you don't hear too much on Fall Guys. Like, that was super popular.
Yeah, I think it's still, people still play it. I think, like, just like Among Us and Peak, it just kind of has a huge moment and then kind of peters off, and then people kind of, like, play it for fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine at some point maybe they'll make a Fall Guys 2.
Possibly.
Number 10, players can no longer crouch through emotional barriers.
That has to be a lie.
It's a lie. I look at it now and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it's the kind of stuff that, like, in certain games where they kind of, like, visualize how somebody is feeling. Like, I figured it would be like a indie game type thing.
But it's a lie. That was patch notes or lie, and it was fun.
That was great. That was hilarious.
Obviously, considering the types of things that, we have to do in these magical worlds that we go and play in, patch notes are going to be wacky because you're doing wacky things that doesn't always make sense.
Listen, on Thursday, my UI programmer was like working with a bug and he's like, I can't figure it out. And then I looked at him and I was like, I think what's happening is the button is not recognizing the bounding size. And I was like, I put a transparent image in the button. And then we tested it and I fixed his bug.
Huh. And that was it.
That was it. We couldn't. Just sometimes you just need to put a transparent image in the background of a button so that your hit target works better.
Yeah.
In our
Makes
defense,
sense.
We're working on a very old game, so sometimes our fixes are very much circumventing old systems. I feel like a new game, mind you, maybe I should talk to people like working on recenter versions of the engine, be like, have you had to put a transparent image to make your button respect the boundings?
I remember having to do that in order to like make a button work. Put some sort of translucent thing on it because it recognizes that layer on top, even though it's an alpha channel and you can see through it.
Exactly. Like sometimes that's just how you make it clickable.
Yeah, truth. I was looking at the upcoming games that I have saved that I'm interested in playing, and Killin' is coming. Remember that pottery game that we saw? Yeah. Imagine what the potential patch notes could be for that one.
Oh my God. I mean, just the fact that like the whole conversation about Timberborn was like fucking beavers taking a zip line to go put the dynamite they built somewhere to divert the bad water from the good water. Like those patch notes also must be wild.
Yeah, you only understand it if you understand the concept of the game because things are wackadoo.
Compared to For Honor, where it's just like the top heavy on this hero is now 300 milliseconds, like down from 100 milliseconds. And I'm just like, cool story, bro. What the fuck is this?
All right. Well, it's time for us to take a wee break, and then we're going to come back with a few news stories to cover this week. We'll be right back. And we're back with some news for this week. Kat, the BAFTA Awards just happened, didn't they?
Yes, and I totally missed it. I was just like, my feed was just like, hey, congrats to Sandfall Interactive and Sucker Punch for their BAFTAs. And I was like, oh, shit. But yeah, a lot. Like, of course, Clair Obscur was just like, nom, 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 nom. Thank you for all the awards, as usual. So, Clair Obscur won for Best Game. for debut game. And I think that's it. Just 2. Wow.
Yeah, they won
Instead of
2. These ones I
Jennifer
find
English won again for her role as Mael. So performer in a leading role.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of list of games of categories was way more kind of like dispersed compared to other ones. Maybe in the division of stuff, maybe there was certain stuff that didn't qualify for BAFTAs. I'm not sure what they like, if it's like the Canadian Game Awards where there has to be a certain percentage of Canadian devs on it or something like that.
Yeah, because BAFTA is the British Game Awards, basically. Well, BAFTA is also like, it's the British awards for
film television awards, isn't it?
Exactly.
British Arts Film Television Awards. That's what
exactly, and they started a games division, like a games BAFTA, like a while back. But I forget if you have to be, if it's mostly for European properties. But I don't think so, because Sucker Punch is there with Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah.
So the full list, like I can power through it. Best game, Clair Obscur. Debut game, Clair Obscur. British game, Adam Fall. Evolving game, No Man's Sky. Multiplayer, Arc Raiders. That one was easy to figure out. Best family game, Lego Party. Game beyond entertainment. I guess that's a game with a message, or like games for impact that we would say with the Jeff's Awards. Was Despelote. Best game design.
Soccer game?
That's the
Yeah, okay.
That's the one, the story about a kid playing football. Best game design, Blueprints, of course.
Yeah.
Best narrative, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. A performer in a leading role, Jennifer English as Maëlle in Clair Obscur. Performer in a supporting role, Jeffrey Wright as Chase in Dispatch. Best animation was Dispatch. Artistic achievement, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. Audio achievements, Dispatch. Music, Ghost of Yotei. New intellectual property, South of Midnight. And technical achievement, Ghost of Yotei.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't watch the show. I know, like, when it comes to, like, the actual show, the BAFTA seems to be very hit or miss in terms of, like, presentation and stuff. It's less, let's just say, it's less Hollywood than what the Game Awards love to do, right? They tend to mimic more into Game Awards. They tend to mimic more into the Oscars and, the Grammys, that type of grandioseness, right? I don't know if the BAFTAs is more like straight to the point, more about protocol.
So I looked up British Academy Game Awards, which is the BAFTA Game Awards, are an annual British awards ceremony honoring outstanding creative achievement in video game industry, first presented in 2004. Following the restructure of the BAFTA Interactive Entertainment Awards, the awards are presented by the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. Oh, that's what it is, British Academy of Film and Television Arts. Since the inaugural BAFTA Game Awards in February of 2004, 22 ceremonies have taken place. The most recent, the 22nd British Academy Game Awards were held at the Queen Elizabeth Hall on April 17th, 2026. That was Friday. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what their I can't really find anywhere what their qualifications are or not qualifications, but like their candidacy for what games get nominated and things like that.
It sounds like it's pretty open, to be honest.
It does feel really open. So I'm just curious what it's about.
Because South of Midnight is mostly, like, I would say like 95% of the dev team is in Montreal.
So on the BAFTA website, we are BAFTA a world-famous independent arts charity supporting careers, driving progressive industry culture, celebrating excellent and inspiring future of film, games, and TV is what we do. Uniquely positioned to support 3 core pillars of the screen industries, we empower and advocate for creative talent in all stages of their career. The only arts charity giving 14,000 extraordinary global members to create a thriving community of film, games, and TV professionals. We are proud to champion talent, help lay the foundations for industry change, and recognize exceptional storytelling. Does it have anything? How they're delivering today? Meet our people. I don't see how things qualify. I'd probably have to do more digging at some point. I don't necessarily trust something like ChatGPT or something give me a straight answer on that. They may, but I would want to dig into it more. But as you know, this was happening on Friday. I did see one news story also from GameIndustry.biz that released about a indie dev who had their trailer pulled from the award show. They were going to present this trailer. It was going to have the release date for the game mentioned, and no word of a lie, Cat. They found out on their way to one of the ceremonies, because there's multiple ones. So I'll read the story from GameIndustry.biz, and then I'll go and mention a little bit. We're going to have the LinkedIn post that the indie developer had posted as well, so folks can kind of see the trailer, because the trailer is out there now. So BAFTA said the reason it pulled an indie game trailer from last weekend's 2026 BAFTA Game Awards was a, in quotes, compliance decision. Discussing the issue on LinkedIn, developer Alex Jones said that they got, in quotes, got a phone call telling me that the trailer for my indie game, The Quiet Things, had been pulled, end of quote, on my way to the nominee party. The game is described as an autobiographical narrative adventure inspired by the developer's own diaries, and its Steam store warns of themes of self-harm, suicide, sexual assault, non-consensual sex, and child abuse. Starting some quotes. This is quoted from the LinkedIn post that Jones has up. For the last 2 weeks, I've worked hard to cut this trailer together while already badly burning out, because I believe this was the biggest opportunity we were ever likely to get. I was so hopeful that the tiny indie game might actually be seen by a huge audience. Finally, a break. Jones was told that the trailer couldn't be shown as there wasn't enough time to put the appropriate trigger warnings in place, and said her suggestions to make, quote, immediate further changes, end quote, were ignored. Quote again, what has upset me so much is not just the decision, but how this happens to me over and over. Doors closed because of the subject matter might upset people or make them uncomfortable. I've stayed quiet to maintain relationships. I've taken the hits. I've tried not to burn bridges. I'm sick of it. Jones then appended the trailer to the LinkedIn post. So reporting to the press request for comment, BAFTA said, quotes, we made a compliance decision not to show a trailer of an unreleased game that contains themes that may trigger for some, in consideration for our guests, as we were not in a position to sufficiently warn them. We fully support games that engage with difficult subjects, and we make the decision in relation to our event only and with the well-being of all guests as our priority. So continuing on the LinkedIn post too, Alex did mention that that it is, these types of sensitive talking points are things that BAFTA honors in a lot of its awards and things like that too. But yeah, thank goodness for the LinkedIn post. I was able to go and watch the video. I shared it with Kat to show the trailer. And I am assuming this is the one that they had presented to BAFTA. It could have been slightly edited, not sure. Maybe they had edited it before with, and then even though they submitted this version, they said they wouldn't show it during the award show. But Kat, I don't know about you, but I actually didn't think it was that bad. I thought the buildup would be like super crazy, but really it was just alluding to things without explicitly saying anything about some of the potential sensitive topics that they would be sharing and conveying in this video game. What do you think?
I think I've seen worse. I mean, in terms of like triggering content and whatnot, I get that it is triggering. It is hard to talk about, and it can grab people sideways, people who have lived through that. But I don't know, like, when you see trailers for games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, they'll be like, game rated M for mature, and then it's just like sounds of war. And I'm sorry, but like, isn't that triggering for a lot of people that went through war? What was it that stopped them from just putting a small warning in front of this trailer? Like, it's just, I get it treats a different kind of violence, but it feels like cowardice, and it does feel like it feels hypocritical. Where I feel in the video game industry, certain types of violence have been commodified and gamified so many times that we don't bat an eye at the fact that it is just as violent and terrible as what this girl is trying to tell this girl. I'm sorry, I said girl, but the trailer made it pretty clear that it was probably a female presenting.
Yeah.
Because it happens disproportionately
Right.
to us. So this trailer about this girl who goes through like sexual violence, like how is that worse than all the actual like gory violence that we put in game? Maybe it's because that got like so over the top now that we don't see the violence, the gun violence and the war violence anymore in these trailers.
Well, I remember watching at the Game Awards just, a few months ago, and they showed off that trailer for Divinity. And I was like, I don't remember seeing any warnings or anything, and that was gruesome.
That was fucking terrible.
Yeah, it was violent.
Yeah.
And like this one, like I said, this essentially what you're seeing as you're watching the trailer for The Quiet Things is essentially you're just seeing like places and you don't see any people. You're just hearing like a voiceover talking a few things that's alluding to a few stuff. Like you don't see any people, you don't see any items that could be violent. You see like spaces, like bedrooms, someone with a diary, what looks like a walkway or a pier that they're walking across. Nothing actually being flat out like that trailer for Divinity where you literally saw someone being sacrificed and burned alive.
While there's an orgy happening around it.
That too. I forgot about that part. Like, holy smokes. What is the difference? Okay. So the thing is I don't know if maybe the BAFTAs are a little bit reeling from what happened to them a few weeks ago in February when they had the BAFTA Awards. So that's like the film and TV version of what we just got for the video games. And during a presentation, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were up on stage presenting one of the awards. There was a person who was in the crowd. His name is John Davidson. He is Scottish. He has Tourette's. Okay. And there was actually the reason he was there too, not to say that folks who have disabilities like this shouldn't be in these places. They should be welcomed everywhere. But particularly why he was there is because he was the subject of a documentary that was being, honored during the BAFTAs. And when the gentlemen were on stage presenting, he shouted the N-word. And not only was it in the crowd live, the BAFTAs are pre-recorded and they let that one slip into the recording. Let it public. And they guaranteed too, and they said to him, because John was very nervous about going, and he even said, they told me this wasn't going to happen. So like, I don't know if maybe this is a little bit of they're playing super hypersensitive because they didn't want another piece of drama. But
okay, so
I don't know. It feels weird to be this hypersensitive over something that alluded to something that happened but was never ever explicit. Consider some of the other ones. I don't know if I didn't see any notes about any other trailers that came out.
No,
during the event.
Because like if we go back to Divinity, which was like, okay, like there's no, unconsensual sex, but it is like for shock and value, right? It is for gore and it is still adult matters. This is something about saying the quiet parts out loud, this game. And this trailer was done in a very sensitive way. And like from the trailer, I could have gathered it was about that. Yeah. But then I went to the trailer like with the warning of like, hey, this is about most likely a father, raping his daughter, like basically. And I watched this trailer and I was like, this is very well, like the quiet parts are not said out loud in this trailer.
So I think that's the point.
Yeah, no, I think that's the point. I'm like, this is fine. Like this is, this has the potential to be an indie darling, or they're very upfront about the content in the game. So if you can't play the game or you don't want to play, don't play the game. But it's just weird. I think the BAFTA are having issues, honestly. Like the story about this guy with the Tourette's, like they could have edited him out.
Right. That's the thing. And they had asked that in case he did say something or whatever, because apparently there had been other outbursts during it and they had edited other ones. But for some reason, they kept that one in. And like there was so much discourse happening then on social the next day, also learning about all the different versions of Tourette's that there are and tics and things like that. That was really educational for someone who is not does not have this disability to learn more about it. But yeah, it's just like I don't know how much they let Mr. Davison down. Just sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
And then their reaction to a trailer that's very tame.
Right.
Let's put it that way. That talks about very sensitive subjects, but is very tame. That's their reaction to it because somebody, I don't know, like it feels like the other BAFTA was like for shock value.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're like, oh no, we can't have that because that didn't work out. But I'm like, this trailer is not shock. This trailer is not like the Divinity Original Sin. This trailer is so soft and quiet because that's what this type of violence is. And I'm just like, you could have shown this trailer. You could have put like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Put a warning.
Or put a slight warning at the bottom or something. I don't know.
But it also
felt like it was an easy cop out, was just to cut it, but then also to let the developer know mere moments before the actual event. And she even talks about in her post how she had to go aside and she was crying and upset about it, had to pull herself together and still be there because obviously you want to go celebrate the wins that you can get and celebrate your colleagues who are up for nominations and things like that. Just have fun at a party, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I get how they say like so many doors have closed because of this subject matter, and I can understand it. But it's like the thing is like if you think about like let's say like this type of story is much more common than people want to believe it is. So I think these kinds of games are important, especially if it's autobiographical. So like when you censor or you say like, hey, this is not appropriate, like that's their lived experience or part of their life. Of course it's inappropriate because it's like it's unacceptable. It's violence. It's a crime. It shouldn't happen. It's somebody failed this child. But it's not inappropriate like, I don't know, like somebody yelling the N-word in the middle of a crowd and they didn't cut it out.
And also that they had no choice and it's not like they wanted to. It was totally involuntary action. Yeah.
Exactly. So. It's just like I'm like, what's inappropriate is the lack of editing in the other one. This is edited. This trailer is edited for it to be appropriate.
And then their lack of foresight to either prep it with some sort of moment at the beginning stating sensitivity warnings or just running it because for crying out loud, how many times have we seen people shoot each other or kill each other in video games? And this is what they deem too sensitive.
Just a card in front of it.
Choices.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm pretty, they could have asked the developer to include that card.
Yeah.
Or to put in the trailer or I don't know. Yeah. Like, game night, we see like M for Mature, we see Peggy 18, we see, rated for violence, and we see Call of Duty, and, you start to hear like the gunshots, like that's got to be triggering for so many people that survive gun violence. And I'm just like, no trigger warnings are there because that's like, it's just, I'm sorry, it's just the lack of, it's just so hypocrite.
Yeah.
I don't say like we should, everything needs a trigger warning or everything should be hidden or whatever. It's just what we choose to hide behind trigger warning is so telling about us as a society.
Yeah.
That this needs a trigger warning.
But that doesn't.
But Call of Duty doesn't.
Yeah. All right, before we close out the show, let's get to something that's a little bit more fun. Elden Ring Movie.
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
It was teased like a while back.
Okay.
But like they announced the cast and the date. And like just to tell you how there's nothing out there. The date is March 3rd, 2028. So it's like 2 years from now as we're sitting here in April 2026.
Yeah.
So that's why there's no trailer. There's no details. They're just like, hey, we're doing it. Milking that shit a bit like Nintendo with the Zelda movie and with Mario back in the day. Just trying to get the gamers in. And they have the full cast, but none of them says what their role is.
They're leaving it very vague.
And I'll be honest, I know two people from that list.
Yeah. Nick Offerman being one of them.
Nick Offerman, of course.
Yeah.
Our king from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And I know Kit Connor because I watched the first season of Heartstopper. I didn't recognize the name. I just saw the name and then I saw Heartstopper and I was like, wait, is he the rugby lad? And he is the rugby lad.
Okay. What is Heartstopper?
Heartstopper is a live action adaptation of a webcomic.
Okay.
And it's about two high school kids in the UK that fall in love.
Okay.
And it's about queer love, it's about identity. And they go to an all-boys school, and it's a great story because, like, one of their best friend, like, when the story starts,
yeah,
they're like, oh, it's the first year that she's not in school with us because their friend transitioned, and she has to go to the all-girls school.
Okay. All right.
For example, so that group of friends, and it's about, like, finding love, and in the case of Kit Connor's character, he figures out he's bisexual and then falls in love with a boy, and then he has to come out and say that he's dating a boy, and he's like, he plays rugby and he's like with the jocks and everything, and he has to deal with a lot of like friends that just casually say homophobic shit. So it's very much, I love that series, to be honest. And it's not just like, it's not bury your gaze and it's not all dreary and whatever. It's actually very hopeful and very nice.
Like,
and
it's rivalry, but not as overtly sexual.
No, definitely not, because everybody's underage.
Right, because they're in school.
But it's like cinematographically speaking, and like the soundtrack is great and the visuals are great. It's beautiful. And the cast is great and the kids are great. And the kids look like kids. Very important. And it's very well made. It's very much a celebration of youth and love. And I highly recommend it. It's very YA, like young adult.
Yeah.
Definitely like geared for a bit like the John Green novels in that term of like, like age group.
Yeah.
But it's very well done. And it's like, if you love I didn't know, I have heard about the webcomic. I've never read it. And then I saw that they made a series, and then everybody on Twitter was going crazy for the series. And then I was like, whatever, like YA series, if it's got like, I still watch like stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm like, if it's well done, I don't mind something that's younger. And honestly, like, I really liked it. I think there's 2-3 seasons. It's on Netflix. I watched the first. I think I might have watched part of the second. But yeah, it's one of those rare occasions where slice of life is done right. Okay. Like, very right. Like, I don't have a lot to tell you about this story other than it's just like watching kids go to school.
Okay. Cool.
And fall in love, but it's like very good and very well done. And Kit, being one of the leads, he was actually very good. Like, and a lot of those kids were debut roles.
All right.
That I know of. I think a lot of them. So I'm actually kind of curious what this motherfucker is doing in the Elden Ring movie.
Yeah. Speaking of Kit, the cast headlined by Kaylee Spaney, who is in Alien Romulus, Civil War, Wake Up Dead Man, and Knives Out Mystery. Ben Whishaw, who was Q in the James Bond films Skyfall and Spectre and No Time to Die, and was the voice of Paddington Bear. And then rumored was Nick Offerman before, who of course we know from Parks and Rec and The Last of Us. They also have Tom Burke, who was in Ferosa, a Mad Max Saga, and Black Bag. Havana Rose Liu, who was in Tuner and Bottoms. Sonoya Mizuno, who was in Ex Machina. Jonathan Pryce, who was in The Two Popes and The Crown. Ruby Cruz, who was in Bottoms and The Threesome. John Hodgkinson. Yeah. That was hard for me to say. Dear England and Napoleon. Jefferson Hall, who was in House of the Dragon. Oppenheimer. Emma Laird, 28 years later. The Bone Temple and The Haunting in Venice. And Peter Serafinowicz, Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, other titles that they've been on. I mean, I kind of like how... And maybe this is just me not being very well versed in the film and TV industry outside of that, which is pop culture in the sense of like Marvel and whatever and video game related, or musicians. I know a lot of musicians because of my job. But I kind of like how I don't know many of these people. sometimes I like going in not having preconceived notions of previous characters they've played in other things, or at least not something that I can pinpoint right off the top of my head, right?
Yeah, I love it when somebody's in the movie and then after the fact I see the credits, like fucking Yoshi and Childish Gambino and being like, what the fuck? Like, I would love to spend this whole movie trying to find Kit Connor and not find him because he's
That's funny.
chameleon type shit, right?
Yeah.
And especially like in that world, like nobody's going to be normal.
Right.
Like nobody's going to be just a dude in an armor.
Right.
That's not how these worlds work.
Right.
Like some of these people are cast to play some of the like fucked up bosses. And I've seen them. Like I have the Elden Ring bordering games. I've seen the minis.
Yeah. Well, isn't there like a whole challenge to essentially try and play through the game where you're wearing nothing but a loincloth?
Yeah, the Wretch.
Yeah.
That's what Pascal is playing in our little campaign that I'm doing with him and Alban. He's playing the Wretch, where all he's got is a club and some underwear.
All right. Good luck,
Maybe
bud.
that's what Kit Connor is playing, the Wretch.
The Wretch.
Just shows up on set, just being like, all right, let's kill where's America?
Yeah. All right. Well, that pretty much closes out the show for this week. As always, check out the show notes at girlsongames.ca for links to all the stories mentioned this episode, including go and check out that video game trailer so you can, decide for yourself. And maybe this turned out to be good for them because now the game is getting more conversation about it than just even being on the BAFTAs. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Maybe it's that Barbra Streisand effect. If you have the power to rate and review this podcast where you are consuming it, that'd be much appreciated. Why? It helps with discovery and pushes us up in the rankings. And every comment you leave helps us build our show. Thank you, Kat, for being on the panel with me here this night to chat video games and all that stuff. Can you shout out your social media handles and anywhere and everywhere people can find you online?
Yeah, I am CSDSBINS pretty much everywhere, but I'm mostly active on Instagram and Blue Sky. But you'll always find me on the Girls on Games Discord.
Wicked. And I am Leah Jew, our most social media platforms. But of course, you want to know everything there is to know about Girls on Games. You can track us down at The Girls on Games on X and Facebook. Just Girls on Games, no the in there on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Discord.me/Girls on Games to continue this conversation and more. But of course, if you ever need to know anything at all, you can track it down at our home base. That's our website, girlsongames.ca. Thank you, Kat. It's been another lovely week in video games, and I'm looking forward to putting more beavers on zip lines and having them fly through the air and ask them to blow things up because video games, right? Right. All right. Bye.
Bye.